Next, we want to look at some principles of economics experiments. And let us start with talking about the different components of an experiment. An experiment consists of an environment. An environment is given by the preferences of the participants, the technologies used, the endowment, the incentives. So, for example, the number of respondents in ultimatum game with responder competition is part of the environment. Furthermore, the institution or the rules of the game are an important part of the experimental design. Take, for example, the actions that are feasible by the participants, the timing, or the information conditions. So, for example, we can, if we think about different institutions, we might compare first prize auctions and second prize auctions. In the first prize auction, the bidder who made the highest bid wins and pays the price she bid. And in a second prize auction, the highest bidder also wins, but in this case, she only has to pay the second highest price. Another important component of an experiment is the framing. How do I describe the roles? Which words do I know? Which words do I use? And how abstract do I describe the setting? So here we could, for example, distinguish between a forward auction, in which a good is sold to the bidders, or a procurement auction, in which the bidders want to sell a good. An important aspect of one of the principles, I would say, claim in economics research is put your money where your mouth is. So in economics experiments, we typically use the induced value method. The challenge is when you run an experiment, a lab experiment in economics or in operations management, you want to analyze a setting experimentally. And so you have to make sure that the subject's incentives are set correctly, so that the participants' incentives are at least similar to the incentives of the let's say, participants in the real situation. Otherwise, it would be hard to interpret your experimental findings and to have some reliability of the results for the field. You could, in principle, just run a survey, but in a survey, you can just claim that you want to be a very nice person and so on. So the solution is to use induced values. Using a reward medium, so typically money, allows you as the experimenter to induce pre-specified characteristics in an experimental setting. So you use the induced values to represent the structure you have in the field. What do you have to take into account when designing this reward medium? So first, monotonicity, which means subject must prefer more reward medium to less. So this is typically great with money. Most people like more money to less money. Second, salience. Subjects need to understand how their actions determine their reward, determine how much money they will earn. Otherwise, you will have a lot of noise. And more also important, the dominance of this reward. So these rewards must be sufficiently high so that other influences are negligible. So you really, if you want to represent the incentive structure of someone in the field, you need to have rewards in the lab that imply that the felt incentives, the incentives felt by the subjects are close to that you assume in the field.